Thank you, Judea. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Geiger, and thank you, Eula, for having me. Mazel Tov, Rabbi Heyer, Rebbitzin Heyer, on the Mensch Award. Cherished students, I wish there were more of you, because this is so important, because you're about to embark upon the next phase of your life, college. And I think that this is a very important time to understand what's going on in secular colleges, because they do affect the world. So I'm standing before you, and I embody dual roles, both as a member of the Psychiatric Medical School faculty of UCLA, and as a mother to 2 Jewish college students. My feelings are a mix of hope and deep concern. Concern that is profound and unsettling. In reflecting upon the festival of Purim, just a few days away, and its enduring lessons of resilience and unity, it's impossible not to draw a parallel with the situation we face today. We find the main threat to Jewish existence emanating from Persia, now known as Iran. The modern Iranian regime has repeatedly issued threats against Israel, advocating for its destruction and supporting proxies like Hamas and Hezbollah. And supporters of jihadism lead the anti-Israel and most often anti-Semitic demonstrations at UCLA. These actions and statements echo the historical challenges faced by our ancestors, reminding us of the persistent threats to Jewish security and existence. Today, I've been given the task of addressing the deteriorating campus climate for Jews at UCLA. The tragic events of October 7th left us all, undoubtedly, in a state of emotional shock and distress. However, the ensuing tsunami of worldwide anti-Semitic and anti-Israel demonstrations that ensued compelled me and my colleagues to take action. Echoing the wisdom of Dr. Viktor Frankl in his seminal work, Man's Search for Meaning, even in the grimmest of circumstances, if one can find purpose and meaning, then hope and resilience can also be found. As the world seemed to invert, I found myself motivated by a purpose beyond my clinical practice and educational duties at UCLA, with a newfound determination to tackle anti-Semitism at a campus-wide level. Hence, I turned to my strengths and started a support group for my UCLA colleagues who were facing an alarming spike in anti-Semitism at UCLA. Thus, the Jewish Faculty Resilience Group was born, affectionately named JFrog. Not because it has anything to do with frogs, nothing to do with Pesach. No, it's just because it's a lot easier to say, JFrog. In our initial gatherings, a group of 20 of us came together to mourn and find solace in one another. By our third meeting, however, our collective resolve had reignited, mirroring the very resurgence of anti-Semitism we aimed to combat. Meeting after meeting, our numbers grew, as did our strength and our resolve. As anti-Semitism intensified at UCLA, the Jewish faculty and staff group, JFrog, transitioned from a mere support organization into an activist coalition of over 120 UCLA faculty and staff, including some non-Jewish allies, dedicated to confronting the growing anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism on campus. I'm sad to say that the situation at UCLA has deteriorated significantly. The Faculty for Justice in Palestine already has dozens of chapters established across the United States, including UCLA. And we know the jihadist community has been working hard over the past 20 years, fomenting a comprehensive and well-funded anti-Semitic, anti-Zionist program dedicated to miseducating the younger generations with the simplistic oppressor-oppressed narrative that distorts Israel, Jewish history, and Jews. Various forms of anti-Semitism have emerged at UCLA, ranging from graffiti and harassment to explicit threats. These actions have fostered a hostile atmosphere to Jewish students and faculty who face bullying and exclusion simply because of their identity. Anti-Semitic content has penetrated academic contexts, with hateful stereotypes being propagated during lectures and academic gatherings. Jews often encounter anti-Semitic propaganda and aggressive activists clad in keffiyehs and masks while navigating campus, compelling them to steer clear of certain campus areas altogether, even though UCLA's rules forbid wearing masks for the purpose of concealing one's identity to intimidate. Recently, as Yuda mentioned, a speech by Tzipi Livni, an Israeli diplomat known for her peace activism and advocacy of a two-state solution, was moved from in-person at the esteemed Royce Hall to Zoom because of threats made by Students for Justice in Palestine that also advocated for the demonstrators to hide their faces under keffiyehs and masks. Campus protests have featured chants like Antifada, from the river to the sea, Israel, Israel, you can't hide, we charge you with genocide, and Itba el Yehud, which translates to slaughter Jews in Arabic. Anti-Semitic activists on campus have hurled insults such as dirty Jew at students wearing kippahs, calling for the annihilation of the Jewish state and its people, attacked a piñata while shouting, beat the effing Jew, and brandishing large dagger-like knives to destroy posters of Israeli hostages. As we all know, throughout history, Jews have been subjected to unfounded accusations and stereotypes. During times of plague, Jews were accused of poisoning the wells or spreading illness. Similar libels are spreading on campus today. In response to an outdoor Shabbat table exhibit at UCLA with empty seats symbolizing the Israeli hostages, one student's social media post warned, "Please be masked and covered if you are taking this exhibit down. Zionist sets have been laced with toxic chemicals." And recently, the UCLA Cultural Affairs Commission even put up a social media post accusing Israel of harvesting Palestinian body parts. The sharp decline in the number of Jews attending both UCLA undergraduate and graduate schools has further marginalized Jews at UCLA, making it easier for anti-Semitism to effectively intimidate and silence them. This paints a devastating picture at UCLA. So, what is the Jewish faculty leadership group doing? What is JFrog doing? Hiding? Burying our faces in the ground? Leaving town? We committed ourselves to galvanize Jewish students, our fellow university faculty members, administrative staff, and the broader community to stand up with pride against anti-Semitism, to advocate fervently for Zionism, and to ensure that Jewish history, culture, and religion are represented genuinely and powerfully. The Jewish faculty at UCLA, through JFrog, have taken a stand, publicly calling the Chancellor and the UC system to more vociferously condemn anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism, adopt the IRA definition of anti-Semitism, and take practical steps to accurately educate students and staff about Jewish history, Jews, and Israel. We've also been successful at providing professional training for Jewish faculty on effectively addressing anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. We're still working at it, but we've started that. Along with rigorous monitoring of anti-Semitic incidents on campus. We've collaborated with organizations such as the ADL, Stand With Us, Hillel, Chabad, to strengthen our network and impact. Furthermore, to counter Hamas atrocity denial across UCLA and educate the English-speaking world about the trauma of October 7th and after, and the resilience, diversity, and equity of Israeli society, we organized a faculty trip to Israel, which already happened, and are now producing a documentary, Bearing Witness. We will be marching to the UC Regents meeting tomorrow morning to present public statements, share our experiences, and make our case for stronger, more decisive action by the University of California. It will be dangerous, as the opposition is well organized, funded, and already agitating. And thus we've asked for and hope we get security. With all our efforts thus far, we have found the UCLA administration's response to anti-Semitism to be tepid at best. Even though there have been clear violations of the university's code of conduct, the university has been reluctant to take decisive action against those who perpetrate anti-Semitism. For example, not enforcing their own demasking rules around campus takes them off the hook of having to deal with or discipline the perpetrators of anti-Semitic and anti-Zionist behavior. This lack of response has only emboldened those who seek to intimidate the Jewish community, leaving Jews feeling unprotected and marginalized. So, where are we at now? The situation we're facing is increasingly concerning, with anti-Semitism on the rise at UCLA. Furthermore, the capacity of the Jewish community organizations is stretched very thin, leaving them unable to respond promptly enough to the numerous instances that emerge daily at UCLA. As a result, we find ourselves shouldering the responsibility, and time is not on our side. Our organization, JFrog, is witnessing significant growth and influence as an active grassroots volunteer body. However, this expansion brings its challenges. Many of our faculty members are already committed to full-time employment, and the rapid escalation of anti-Semitic incidents means we're struggling to keep pace without additional or sufficient support. To continue our journey towards effective growth and to successfully counter each act of anti-Semitism, it's become clear that hiring staff to execute our projects is imperative. This will ensure we maintain our momentum and achieve our goals. But to do so, we require urgent community support and assistance. So, to do this, we need you. The severity of these incidents and the strength of the faculty for justice in Palestine require an equally forceful response from the broader Jewish community, at least an equally forceful response. Yet, despite all the publicity of congressional hearings and insipid, vitriolic, venomous, anti-Semitic and anti-Zionist protests and activity on college campuses, Jewish faculty and students on campuses like UCLA are not receiving the community support necessary to fight the battles that need to be fought to keep anti-Semitism from overflowing from the campus onto our communities. If you think Jews are the canaries of the world, then understand me now. Jews on campus are the canaries of the wider Jewish community. So here is the good news. And that brings us back to Purim, a time when we celebrate Jewish survival against seemingly insurmountable odds. It's not just a story of the past, but a reminder that when we stand together, support one another, and face our challenges head on, we can overcome anything. We've done it before, and we can do it again. We just have to shift gears. It's not business as usual anymore. The resilience of Esther and Mordechai, their courage to stand up against Haman, and his supporters, is the resilience we need to embody today. There is a pivotal moment in the Purim story where Esther grapples with the life-threatening risk of approaching King Ahasuerus without being summoned in order to advocate for the defense of the Jewish people. Esther's initial hesitation is met with Mordechai's compelling response. Do not imagine in your heart that you, of all Jews, will escape because you are in the king's palace. For if you insist on remaining silent at this time, relief and deliverance will come to the Jews from elsewhere. But you, Esther, and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether it was not for such a time as this, that you came into royalty. Each of us, regardless of our station in life, may be uniquely positioned to make a difference in the face of adversity. Esther's story encourages us not to underestimate our potential to effect change, reminding us that perhaps we are in our respective positions for such a time as this. We each have a role to play. So, I ask you, what's your role? Am Yisrael Chai.